Hello, welcome back to Happy Apple Core Homestead. Today we will be batch cooking hash browns. This year I harvested 228 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes from my garden. This here is my last 11 pounds. The potatoes that have imperfections or are quite small, I like to cook up in different ways and freeze them for easy, fast meals later. The potatoes that don't have any imperfections get stored to be used fresh. So first things first, we're going to get these scrubbed up real nice. This is the tool that I like to use for scrubbing potatoes, especially when I have a large amount like I do today. And it just makes super quick work of getting all of the extra dirt off. Saves my hands the distress too. And you can see the beautiful color of the Yukon here. So when these are all washed up, we'll be right back. All right, now that all the spuds are clean, we are just going to poke some holes in it. I use a knife. You should probably use a fork. I use a knife because, okay, long story here. While I'm doing this, I'll tell you the story. My dad, when I was a little girl, worked at a potato plant. So I have been taught from birth to peel potatoes with a knife, and so it's like second nature to me to be fussing with potatoes with a knife. So you know those like peelers, carrot peelers that people use for peeling potatoes? I don't use those. They feel very foreign to me. So if you grew up like I did, from the time you could sit, you were peeling potatoes with a sharp paring knife, then go ahead and do it like this. If not, please use a fork so you don't cut off one of your fingers or stab yourself and get an infection, because that would be bad. Alright, once all of your taters have been poked, they're on a parchment paper lined cookie sheet. We're going to pop them in the oven at 400 degrees for about an hour. See you soon. Hi, we're back. These have been in the oven for an hour at 400 degrees, so I'm just going to grab a fork and see if they're done. Okay, good news, they are plenty done for my taste. So I'm going to just pop these out of the oven and put them on the counter to start cooling off, and then we will go to the next step. Hi, alright, the potatoes have been just sitting on the counter cooling off for a couple of hours. They're still only mildly warm, just mildly warm. And the reason why I don't put these in the fridge is I have very sensitive hands. My hands ache if they're cold, and I like to have them be a little bit warm, or at the very least room temperature. And you're just going to want to peel the skins off. Another thing about the potatoes being slightly warm is they peel so much easier. If you're in a time crunch and you have to put them in the fridge overnight or something, that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything, but they will be very cold, and also the peels will not come off as nice. Oops. I don't know why I put that in there. The peels will go to the chickens. So that's it. Grab your paring knife, grab your potato, take the skins off, and after we get all of these peeled, we'll be back with the next step. Hello everybody. We've got our taters all peeled. But one thing I wanted to show you, and a little trick, is after I peel the potato, I cut them in half before I put them in the bowl that we're going to use to shred. Because sometimes your potato has hollow part, and although it's not going to kill you or anything, it looks bad, right? So if you cut your tater in half, if you notice that there's a blemish on the inside, it's super easy to just cut it out. And then you won't be surprised when you're in the process of, this one has one too. See that? We'll just pop it out real quick with a knife. Alright, head over to the other counter with me and we'll start shredding these. Hi, we have moved over to the other counter where I have some plugins, and all of the potatoes have been peeled and they're ready to be shredded. I want to talk to you about two things. One is, why did I even cook them ahead of time in the first place? And there's a couple of different reasons. The first reason is, if you shred them raw and then freeze them, they will discolor. The second reason is they get mushy and gross. Now, let's get down to making these hash browns, right? So I have this food processor here. It's very helpful and handy, very easy to use, user-friendly. I am using the shredder attachment that goes with it. But it is not necessary to have a big, expensive machine like this in your kitchen to make amazing hash browns. You could also use this, which, by the way, if you were to use this when these are raw, you would be crying yourself to sleep tonight, because you will scrape your knuckles and it will take you forever, because potatoes are hard, right? But cooked potatoes are soft. Also, the box cutter. Use the large grate. Super easy. Alright, this is full. That took like 2 seconds. Since I was gone, I brought out a jelly roll pan. You can use any kind of pan or whatever that will work in your freezer. I like to line mine with parchment paper because I do lots of different batches and it just keeps them clean, so I don't have to constantly be scrubbing them. You do you though. So you take your lid off, or if you're using your box grater or your hand grater, you'll just get into your bowl. So here's the bowl, and what we're gonna do, let me just back you up a little bit so you can see this a bit better. We're gonna do a thin layer, not like with dehydrating where you're trying to keep it all separate, or how you freeze berries. You know, you want to keep them kind of not touching. Hash browns are a little bit different, and you'll see later how we're going to break these apart. But you just want to do a nice even layer. Kind of shove it to the outside edges. And so just like that. And you can see that there's still more in the container to save freezer space and also pans. I mean, unless you have a never-ending supply of pans, I like to stack mine. I like to layer it. It will take a little bit longer to freeze, so if you're all about, oh, I've got to flash freeze this in an hour or 2, then I would suggest having a lot of pans on hand and a lot of freezer space. But I'm going to actually let this sit overnight, and so I'm going to do a couple of layers. I'm going to use a layer of parchment paper. All right, and then second layer right on top. I decided I was just gonna double decker the layers. I've got 3 jelly pans here. I'm gonna pop them in the freezer. We will get back to food preservation tomorrow. See you then. Hi, welcome back. The hash browns are frozen and it's time to break up the sheets. So this is 2 layers of hash browns, and we want to break them up into the approximate size that we're going to want to use them for. So I like to use them both for hash browns for, you know, breakfast, or on top of casseroles. An ice pick would be a really good thing if you happen to have one in your drawers. I don't, so I'm going to use a clean knife sharpener. If you're going to use your knife sharpener, do make sure that you wipe it down, because I don't know why my husband, he'll sharpen a knife and then just stick it back in the knife block, and that's great because it's only used for knife sharpening until I start busting up the hash browns. So I make sure to wash it every time so that I don't get metal shavings in my hash browns. So I find that it helps to lift up the first layer and then just breaks it up like that. So now I've got several pieces, and I'm going to pull here inside the food saver is a roll. We can make it any size we want. So I'm going to make it about that big. And when I hit this button here, it seals it automatically. Okay, on the side, you want to make sure that you date it and list what it is. Now, you're probably never going to forget what it is, you know, because you can kind of see through the bag what it is. But, you know, if something is off-colored or it's been in there for a really long time, then you'll know, oh, maybe hash browns aren't supposed to look like this. Maybe my freezer was on the fritz and I didn't know. Anyway, it's just a good idea. There's lots of different reasons, good reasons, to just go ahead and put your date and the contents on your bag. You will be happy you did so. And then there's a built-in knife here that will cut it off, and there you go. You've got your own perfectly sized bag. Then you want to start filling your bag. So this is a good size for this one, and you'll put it into your vacuum seal, engage it, and it will suck all the air out and then seal it automatically. Alright, see that? Neat, right? So the food saver machine and the bags are an added expense. I do find, however, though, that the items last in the freezer a lot longer than just regular freezer Ziploc bags or Ziploc type bags. And for me, having my food last longer when I'm batch cooking especially is worth the extra money. Eventually it pays for itself. I've got three trays, 3 double layered trays, and I'm going to go ahead and take care of these, and then I'll see you in just a bit. Alright, all the hash browns have been vacuum sealed. From the 11 pounds of potatoes that we processed, we yielded 16 individual meals. Surprisingly, I don't know if I have ever shown you this before, but I did get some blue potatoes this year. I didn't even plant them. I planted them a couple years ago, and obviously I forgot to dig one up, and I got a whole batch of them. So I was pretty excited about that because I love them. My family, however, it's not their favorite, so I do now exclusively grow the Yukon Golds. I have a very large deep freezer, so this type of thing works well for me. And the reason I batch cook is to give myself a little bit of extra time with my family. So I take the opportunity when I can to batch cook when no one else is around, and then throw everything into the freezer. That enables me to very quickly go and just grab a couple different elements and put a meal together really, really fast. And then I can focus on my family. The hash browns are unique in that if you want to make hash browns like actual griddle hash browns, you do not have to thaw these out. You can just unzip it, put some butter oil in your pan, pop it on, and you can cook them up that way. They will be beautiful. When I'm putting them on top of a casserole, I thaw them out first, but you don't have to. You know, like those recipes that are like the tater tot casserole, you don't thaw out the tater tots, right? So same goes for here. These are already pre-cooked. You do not have to thaw them out. I do, because in my recipes, I like to mix in some butter and some cheese before I layer it on top. So I thaw mine out first so that I can do that. But you do not have to. And so that's just one less element for your meals. The easiest way to thaw these out, if you're in a hurry, like let's just say, oh my gosh, it's 5 o'clock, my family wants dinner at 6, I don't have anything ready, I need to get something in the oven now, then you can take one of these bags, throw it in a bowl of warm water, and it's going to be thawed out plenty enough to use within about 10 minutes. Or if you did have the foresight to pull it out of the freezer, unlike me, then you can just stick it in your fridge for, you know, up to overnight, and they'll be nice and soft and squishy and ready to do whatever you want with them. Well, so that's it for hash browns, everybody. Thank you so much for watching my video. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and have a wonderful day. Bye!